It's finally that time of the week where we get to talk about where the money is going. The best bets video for UFC Des Moines is coming right at you. I got 3 bets to share with you throughout this video. A money line bet, a round prop bet, and a prop bet. All 3 of those are plus money. In addition, I'm going to give you every single one of my DFS plays on Underdog and Betr picks. If you're familiar with the channel, you know you always want to tail those. And throughout the video, I will let you know where you can get every single one of my bets for UFC Des Moines absolutely free. We're on a 7-week winning streak on UFC cards. Hopefully we can make that 8. We've been absolutely killing it. But before we get into UFC Des Moines, as always, I love to be transparent with you guys. The wins, the losses, it doesn't matter. We have to recap how we did last week on the Best Bet show. We had Carlos Prates on the money line. I'll take that one on the chin, you know. Carlos Prates lost 49-46, arguable 48-47. I got to tip my cap to Ian Gary for his game plan. I think he had a great game plan, implemented it well, shut down Carlos Prates. At plus money, I thought it was the side. I thought it was going to be a kickboxing battle. And I thought Carlos Prates would be able to close that distance, put the pressure on. But Ian Gary, just got to tip your cap and move on from that one. We lose that one. We lost the fight not to go the distance in Blackshear versus Haley. I thought Haley would grapple or look to grapple, and I thought Damon Blackshear would out-grapple him. And I also thought that Haley would probably have some chances to land big shots on Damon. I also thought Damon could land big shots on Haley. It turned out to be a high-volume striking affair, which was not really how I saw it going, and ultimately it went the distance. So we lose the plus 100 bet on the fight not to go the distance there, but we did hit the well maker by KO at plus 350. Round 1, got it done pretty easily at plus 350. It was a nice little cash there. So overall, on the Best Bet show, the 3 bets that I gave you last week, we were down just 0.25 units. Unfortunate because we were coming off a winning week, but you take it on the chin, you move on. I got 3 bets at plus money for you this weekend, and hopefully we can cash. The DFS plays, we went down 1 unit. I think it was the first week in 4 or 5 weeks that we were not profitable on DFS, but it was very close to being profitable. If you look at the props that missed, Castaneda over 1.5 takedowns. He got 1. He shot 1 in the 3rd round. It was the only one that he shot. He got it pretty easily. I feel like he should have shot more takedowns and he would have had a better chance of winning the fight. It was the only round that he won was round 3. And he grappled in that round, so kind of makes sense. Maybe I should be making game plans for these fighters, but overall we took a loss, very small loss on the DFS plays there. So now it's time to get into the bets here. We got a money line bet on Cam Smotherman. I got it at plus 130. I believe he's around plus 115 now. I would still say that's good. I think any plus money you can get on Cam Smotherman in this one looks good to me. I expect Cam Smotherman to come into this fight with his normal game plan, which is pressure, unload a lot of volume, and wear down your opponent. Stuff takedowns and just keep the pressure on. If he does that to Sandhagen City, I don't think Sandhagen City is going to handle the pressure very well at all. Okay, he's a guy that likes to be at range. He likes to be using his long-range weapons, his kicks up the middle, his calf kicks, and his jab and his 1-2. If a guy's pressing you, it's hard to use those. It's hard to kick moving backwards. It's hard to get into a rhythm moving backwards. And I don't believe Sandhagen City is a great counter striker. I just don't really think he does. I think he likes to shell up and to avoid his opponent's offense. And if you shell up against Cam Smotherman, he's going to find his reads. He's going to pick you apart to the body. He's going to go back upstairs, and he's going to wear you down. I think Cam Smotherman has a great style to beat a guy like Sandhagen City. My only worry is that, maybe Sandhagen likes to go to the wrestling in this matchup where Cam Smotherman can be taken down, but I think Cam Smotherman's get-up game is good enough to deal with here. And also, I hope Cam Smotherman doesn't really look to grapple because Sandhagen City does have some nice front chokes, and if he does look to take down Sandhagen City, hopefully he doesn't get his head caught in there. I just got to knock on wood because I just put it out in the universe. That's probably not good. But I think Cam Smotherman gets this one done. I got him on the money line at plus 130. I think he's a nice dog this week. Gets his 2nd UFC W. Now let's get into the Underdog Plays. If you're in one of these highlighted states, you're going to want to download the Underdog app if you haven't already, because we got a special offer for you this week as well. Use code HeyJive. Use code HeyJive When you download, you get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Since the beginning of 2024, positive 90.57 units on 2-pick entries alone. Last week, I went over the totals if you count the 5-pick plays and the 100x plays on Betr picks. But in just 2-pick entries alone, we're positive 90.57 units since 2024. We've hit some big slips like these already in 2025. This week, if you download and you use code HeyJive, you're going to get a special on Rainier DeRitter at 0.0 significant strikes. So it's basically a free win, or if he gets 0, then the entry you make gets returned to you. So it's free money, essentially. I expect Rainier DeRitter to get at least 1 significant strike. 1 leg kick will do it. So if you want to download the app, there's a link down in the description below. Or if you're watching on a TV, you can pull out your phone, scan this QR code, download it, and you can put these plays in. Let's check them out. We got Ryan Loder lower than 45.5 significant strikes. He's not a guy that likes to exchange. Okay, he likes to limit exchanges on the feet. Doesn't throw his hands all that often. He'll throw a few kicks out here and there, but most of his significant strikes come from ground and pound. And I think at 45.5, he's going to have to land a lot of ground and pound to get more than 45.5. So I think the lower on Ryan Loder at 45.5 looks good to me. He's purely a wrestler who has somewhat of a karate type of stance, doesn't really throw much on the feet. So I like the lower on Ryan Loder. Lower than 52.5 for Quang Le. Quang Le is not a volume guy. He's more of a guy that likes to set up his power shots. And Gaston Bolaños, not a guy that gets hit all that often. You know, the only fight that he really got hit a lot was against Marcus McGee. And Marcus McGee was just levels above him. I don't think Quang Le is levels above Gaston Bolaños. I think Bolaños actually wins the fight, so I think Bolaños will have success with the striking, and I think he will limit Quang Le with the striking. I think Quang Le maybe actually will look to get his grappling going in this fight as well. So when there's possibility for grappling, I always like to take the lower on one of the guys in the fight, and I think Quang Le is just not a high-volume guy, so I like the lower than 52.5 for Quang Le right there. Cam Smotherman higher than 70.5. Now, I normally don't like to play these high lines, and if I'm going to take a higher, but I think Cam Smotherman doesn't have like the biggest knockout power. I think Sarahi City is very hittable, but he's also very durable, so I trust Sarahi City to take the shots from Cam Smotherman. I know Smotherman likes to use his volume. I know Smotherman likes to build into fights. So, you know, even if he gets 15 in the first round, you know, you can expect him to pick it up in round 2 and round 3. I think it probably goes to a decision. I don't expect to see a lot of grappling from either guy. Neither guy really looks to grapple in many of their fights. So I think this is a 15-minute striking affair where Cameron Smotherman is going to be landing a lot of volume, and Sarahi City is going to be getting hit a lot. Jeremy Stephens, higher than 35.5. Just way too low, man. I think Jeremy Stephens can put some hands on Mason Jones. Mason Jones is a guy that gets hit with nearly 5 significant strikes per minute. I don't think Jeremy Stephens is going to get knocked out by Mason Jones. Mason Jones is also very durable. He's never been finished in his career. The only worry is that maybe Mason Jones looks to grapple in this one, but he's just not a guy that really goes to the grappling all that often. If there was a matchup where he would go to it, it'd probably be this one. But considering he's coming back to the UFC, you know, he probably doesn't want to get into the bad graces of the UFC and, you know, go out there and grapple Jeremy Stephens when they made this matchup for Jeremy Stephens a one-off fight. They probably want a fun firefight. And I think the fight could extend, you know, into this late second, into the third, maybe even go to a decision. So Jeremy Stephens at 35.5, just too low for me, so I like the higher. Lower than 64.5 significant strikes for Daniel Marcos. Now, I think Daniel Marcos is a solid striker, but I have to play this because Montel Jackson has his last 11 fights. His opponents have gone under this number in all 11 fights. This fight is probably going to be dictated on the range of Montel Jackson. Okay, Montel has a huge reach. I think it's a 7 or 8 inch reach advantage in this one. I know Daniel's a pretty good kicker, but Montel doesn't really absorb a lot of leg kicks. I mean, he's a guy that is good at just using his range, being out of range, and not getting hit. And I think this could turn into Montel looking to grapple a little bit. Daniel Marcos maybe looking to get some cage push. So at the number at 64.5, I got to take the lower because Montel has just proven over his last 11 fights that guys just can't hit him all that often. And it's not to say that Daniel Marcos can't win the fight, but I got to play the number because it just makes all the sense in the world based on the stats. There's your 5-pick entry. Wins 20x if we hit all of them. You can even add a Rainer DeRitter. 0.0 significant strikes to make it a nice, bigger payout if you want to. The 2-pick entry right here, Quang Lee, we already talked about. Bo Nickel, lower than 1.5 takedowns. I played it against Paul Craig, and he didn't even shoot a single takedown. This is the exact same matchup, okay? The only way that Bo Nickel would give Rainer DeRitter the best chance to win would be to take him down and grapple with him. I think Bo Nickel has enough fight IQ to look at this as the Paul Craig fight and be like, I can outstrike this guy because he's not a very good striker. I don't even need to take him down, and I could still win. Obviously, Bo Nickel, a great wrestler. If he wanted to take down Rainer DeRitter, probably could, but I don't really think he needs to. I don't think he wants to. He showed his last fight he didn't want to. I played the under 1.5. The lower than 1.5 on Bo Nickel when he fought Paul Craig. I'm doing it again here against Rainer DeRitter. Just doesn't make any sense for him to go for takedowns in this one. 2 picks, correct there, wins 3x. And then we got Smotherman and Jeremy Stevens paired up here, both higher. 2-pick correct, wins 3x. Once again, if you want to jump on Underdog, I highly advise you to because we make a lot of money on this app. There's a link down in the description if you're one of these highlighted states to sign up. Use code HeyJive, get that deposit bonus up to $1,000. Get that Rainer DeRitter special. Lock these plays in and let's make some money. Now, if you want another tool in the arsenal, download Chalkboard. It's available in these highlighted states as well. You can use my code HeyJive to get you some free money to play with. You got to shop the best lines. They don't have the significant strike lines out just yet, but I'm sure they will within the next day or two. So you got to have that to shop the best lines. If they got a better line than Underdog or Betr picks, you got to play it. It's another tool you got to have in your arsenal. You always got to have the best line available and play the best line available. You got to have multiple options. There's a link down in the description below to download Chalkboard and add another tool to your arsenal. Let's get into the round prop bet. We're taking the fight not to go the distance in the Thomas Peterson-Don'Tale Mayes fight. And I analyzed this one pretty deeply. And I just don't see a way where Thomas Peterson doesn't take down Don'Tale Mayes. And I think Thomas Peterson has shown if he gets you down, he can hurt you and he can put you away with a submission or a TKO. Now, Don'Tale has been finished by heel hook twice in the UFC. That should tell you his grappling skills. And I'm not saying Thomas Peterson is some jiu-jitsu ace, but I think he does have the ability to go in there and submit Don'Tale Mayes or just get on top of him with his big old belly and TKO. Okay, Don'Tale Mayes is just a completely awful grappler. And I think Thomas Peterson's biggest strength is the grappling. So I think this fight does not go the distance. We also have some upside for a Don'Tale Mayes KO. I know Thomas Peterson just got KO'd by Shamil Gaziev. So, Don'Tale's got some power in his hands. Even though he's not the greatest striker, he's still 6'6" with like an 80-some inch reach. If he lands the right shot, he could put out Thomas Peterson. So we like the fight not to go the distance there at even money, heavyweights, low level. One is terrible on the ground. The other one is very hittable on the feet. I think somebody's getting finished here. Plus 100 for Thomas Peterson. And Don'Tale Mayes to not hit the scorecards. I like it. There's your round prop bet for the week. 1 unit on that. Let's cash it. Now, if you want all my bets for UFC Des Moines, you're going to jump in the Home of Fight Picks premium membership on Winnable. Use code HeyJive, or not HeyJive, use code Iowa this week and you'll get a 7-day free trial. You can always use code HeyJive. You'll get a 5-day free trial, but we like to make it nice for the weekend. Use code Iowa and you'll get a 7-day free trial. We're positive 41.55 units in 2025 so far. We're on a 7-week winning streak dating back to UFC 313, which we crushed it there. We've been on an absolute tear. So hopefully we can make it 8 weeks in a row. I feel pretty good about this one. We've been picking our shots pretty nicely and just racking up wins every single week. Going for 8 in a row this week. If you want all my bets, jump on the Home of Fight Picks premium membership. Use code Iowa. Get you a 7-day free trial. And next week, when the lines drop for DFS, you can get them when I put them in. I put them in on Monday, I believe it was this week. Whenever they drop, I'm there in the lab, cooking them up. I put them out to you guys on the Winnable first on Monday. And that's why the lines tend to move and you see a little bit of a different line when it comes Thursday and I make this best bets video. So if you want the DFS plays early, that's where you get it in the Home of Five Picks premium membership. Use code Iowa, gets you a 7-day free trial. Now the prop bet. This is going to sound a little bit different just because I'm taking Daniel Marcos lower on significant strikes, but I had to play it based on the numbers. I also had to play Marcos by decision based on the numbers, okay? Marcos, undefeated guy, undefeated when it comes to fights that go to decision. I think he's 9-0 when fights go to a decision. Montel Jackson only lost by decision. I think Daniel Marcos can make this fight very competitive. And I gave somewhat of a breakdown on that when I gave out my official picks. I look at this matchup and I see Daniel Marcos, solid fighter, very, very solid fighter. Montel Jackson, solid fighter, but there's times where he can just be a little bit inactive. And I don't mean that by not fighting, but I mean in the cage, he's just not that active of a guy. He likes to control range with, his size and his length. But he's not really throwing a lot out there. He's not really a big kicker. He's not a high volume striker. I don't think he's the best grappler. So I think Daniel Marcos can make this very competitive, and it hits the scorecards, and Daniel Marcos can get his hand raised. At plus 300, I'm throwing a half a unit on that. Just, you're getting plus money on an undefeated guy as an underdog, where his main win condition's probably a decision. I'll take the plus 300 on Marcos to get this one done. I think he can land the shots against Montel. I think if he can avoid getting knocked down, I think he'll win most of the minutes. I think it's a minutes versus moments thing, and I think Marcos is going to win more minutes, and I think that's the way the judges are going to score it. So give me Marcos by decision at plus 300 for a half unit. There's your prop bet for the week. Let's talk about the better picks. Maybe we can hit another 100x payout this week. We hit it on UFC 314. We turned $100 into 10K. So if you're in one of these purple states, you're going to download Better Picks. There's a link down in the description below. Use code HeyJob, get the deposit bonus up to $250. You can hit slips like these. Let's check out the plays. We got Ryan Loder lower on significant strikes. Talked about that. Marcos, Quang Lee lower as well. We talked about those. Jeremy Stevens, Cameron Smotherman higher. We talked about those. We got Jillian Robertson higher than 13.5 minutes of fight time. I actually bet the over 2.5 early in the week. I think it was Monday at minus 136. And I'm like, I think the fight probably goes to decision at minus 136. Women's MMA, Jillian Robertson, I don't think she can finish Marina Rodriguez on the ground. And now the over 2.5 has ballooned to like minus 220 or something like that. So we got great closing line value on that over 2.5. And this higher than 13.5 is great value. So we got that. We got lower on Bo Nickel takedowns. And then we had to complete it. We put Miesha Tate higher than 2.5 takedowns. I think she can get the takedowns on Yana Santos. Santos has a lower than 50% takedown defense. Miesha Tate probably going to want to grapple in this one. I don't know that she's going to finish her early on. So I think Miesha's probably going to get at least 3 takedowns. I like that. There's your 8-legger, 100x payout on Better Picks right there. The 2 pick entries right here, Ryan Loder and Daniel Marcos. Love that play. The numbers back it up. And then another 2 pick entry for a 3x payout, which I just put in. It made sense to me based on we're getting Marina Rodriguez higher than 13.5 minutes of fight time. The over 2.5 is at minus 220 or something. It's a great value play. And then we're taking Thomas Peterson lower than 53.5. He's at a huge reach disadvantage. He's not really a high volume guy. And, he's been to decision twice in the UFC, but that was against Jamal Pogues. Goes to decision every time. Muhammad Usman goes to decision every time. Dontel Mays goes to decision here and there, but he can be finished. He can be finished on the ground. And I don't think Thomas Peterson is going to be landing a ton of significant strikes on the feet. I think if he does land significant strikes, it's probably going to be from ground and pound. So at the number at 53.5, super high. So I like the lower on Thomas Peterson. We also like the fight to not go the distance, so it makes sense there. 2 pick entry, 3x multipliers on those. Once again, if you want to tail the plays, you probably should. If you're in one of these purple states, link down in the description below. For better picks, use code HeyJob, get that deposit bonus up to $250 so you can put these plays in for free. And lastly, I want to thank you for watching. And if you want to support me, you can go to ProfessorParlayShop.com. There's a link down in the description below. You can buy some of the Professor Parlay merch. I don't want to just be here asking for money for no reason. I want to provide you with a quality product or a quality service. Okay, so I thank you for watching. If you want to support me, go to ProfessorParlayShop.com. Get yourself a tee. Very high quality. Something you can wear every single day. It's black and white. Goes with everything. It'll cash your parlays if you're wearing it. If not, you can like the video for me to show your support. Subscribe to the channel. Comment down below your bets for this weekend. Appreciate y'all. Till next time. Hey, job picks.